very happy that you agreed to participate in our oral history project at Jackson State College. Um, the first phase of our project is the study of Piney Woods. Eventually, we want to study all of the educational institutions, particularly black educational institutions in the state of Mississippi. So in this first project, we're really trying to pinpoint some of the significance that Piney Woods School, Prentice, and Utica schools had for black people in those early days. Now, today you are a retired home demonstration worker.
That's right.
Now, when did you retire?
I retired in 1965.
1965. I think that's when many of the other people retired.
Mhm.
The program was phased out at
Well,
that time. What?
the reason I retired, I didn't quite work my time out. I had 3 more years.
Mhm.
But see, my husband was down here, and then I had these 4 children.
Mhm.
And first, I had somebody to stay with me for several years, and then the people began to get jobs, and it got a little too hard on me, and I asked her to retire, and that's when I retired. So what? Sincere that they would help me retire, and so I wanted to retire in November. They asked me to work on to December, and I retired in December.
Now, you're getting into this area of home demonstration worker. Was it related in any way to your experiences at Piney Woods School?
Yes, I learned quite a few things in China when I was there, you know, and I had food and clothing and things like that, and I was really good in food and clothes, and the home agent that was here in the county at that time, but she needed somebody to help her across the summer.
And who was that person?
That was Hattie Lucas Gray. And so they wrote me and asked me would I help across the summer, and then sent me some blanks to fill out, and I didn't fill them out because I wanted to go home to school. See, we were working in the winter and going to school in the summer, my husband and myself, and I didn't fill the blanks out.
You were at school at Piney Woods at the
Yeah,
time.
and then we were going on in the summer, you know, to Alferdteen College. And then the supervisor came down and brought some blanks and had me to fill them while she was here and told me I could work 2 months. And she said, you do need quite a few things. And I said, yes. But I had planned to go to school. But she insisted. And I went on and worked for 2 months. And they didn't take me on. So I worked. They kept me on. The man got up and said, those that hadn't finished college, he might would have to take them off. So he took everybody off but myself for a while. But he left me on. And then he got up and said, Mr. Jones, he was over all the way, said those that made good.
Now, this is not the Jones at Piney Woods.
No, Mr. Eli Jones, Starksville. That's where the headquarters for the overall work. But see, we had a headquarters in Jackson, the Negro, but all the overall work was from Starksville. And then he got up and said, those that made good, he would leave them on. So they never did take me off, and I worked 21 years, 9 months.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're going to Piney Woods School from 1920 to 1924 prepared you for this,
Yeah.
without any additional college work.
No, I just only what I was going in the summertime, going each summer, and I was in elementary education then. But after I started this work, then I got at home ec. But that's where I got my beginning. I could do a lot before I went to Piney Wood. I mean, I was a person that always liked to do things, and I had learned to cook real well, but it was just guesswork. And when we went to Piney Wood, see, they gave us things to cook with. They gave us measuring spoons, measuring cups that we had never had, you see, and all those type of things. And we had demonstrations and things just among ourselves, you see. And that's where I got, a whole lot of it. And then in the clothing department, where we had a teacher that had finished in New York, Miss Miller, and then we took clothing under her, you see.
Was this Mrs. Miller a white lady?
No, she was color. She was color, but she's real light. And then I worked in the dining hall. You see, my father paid my board, but I just wanted to do something. I set tables.
Oh.
All while I was there, I worked in the dining hall with food and so forth. And then, see, when I went there, well, the board was just $16 per month. And I was doing as much work as those children that was paying that board. That was working that way. And so I just cut down on my board too.
Yeah, that's right. I understand that that's one of the things at Piney Woods, whether you pay or not, you still have to
That's
work.
right. Yeah, that's right. We had to work a half a day. That's right.
Now, you probably recall some things about Mrs. Jones.
Oh, yes. I knew Miss Jones very well. And I worked up in her office sometime with her, like folding paper and things like that. I wasn't a regular office girl because I really worked in the sewing room. That was my place that I worked in, and in the art department. Then I, worked in the dining hall, set tables. I didn't do any cooking or anything like that. I just set tables 3 times a day, set up tables, waited on tables, you see. But I did work with Miss Jones some, and a lot of times she would have so much work, she would get groups of girls to come up and fold papers and their dressing envelopes and things like that. So I worked with her. Then I worked up to the house a time or two. One girl that was in my class, she stayed up to the Joneses. And I would go up there sometime and help her when we get out. When we meet in sewing room, I go by and help her some. And then we worked at night a lot of time, Miss Jones, because Mrs. Jones would make all these things to send up north, hats and baskets.
Why would she do that?
Huh?
Why would she send them?
Well, they would send them because the people in the north would support the school.
Oh, I see.
And they would send all these things. We worked all night or many nights making hats and baskets and fixing up bags for Christmas, pine birds and things like that. And we would do that with her. Miss Jones was a fine person. She really was a fine person. And she seemed that she loved everybody. And she would always call us in, she would have craft service with us once a week. And then she would call us in and tell us how to live and how to act and everything. And she was very, very good. I love her. She died after I left there.
I think it was in 1928.
We went back for the piano. I know her very well.
Do you know anything about her working in the community?
Yeah, she worked in the community very hard. She had this club out there that she worked with the community women. And that was really a rough community. Most all the homes out there was just log huts, maybe just a 2-room house, 1 room, and then maybe a little kitchen to it. And then some of them was just 1 room. And some of the people cooked on the outside. They had these things they called ovens.
On the outside of the house?
They were something like they're made out of something like a wash pot. You seen the old-fashioned wash pot?
Yes, ma'am. I've seen those black
Well,
pots.
these things had long handles in them, and they were huge, and they had a top on them, and they would put the food in there, and then they would get some oak wood and let it burn into coals, you see, and then they would put this food in there, then they'd put the coals on top, and that food would cook wonderful in that oven.
I wonder if any of those things are around to be seen.
I imagine there's some up there. I imagine there's some there. And she worked with these women, and they met up at her house. Maybe, I don't know, it was once per month or twice per month. And she had this club with the women, and she was crazy about the club. And when she passed, they gave all these ladies a seat on the stage. All of the whole group. And they, they were horrible. And that's all. When we used to go out at Christmas time, we would go out and take food out there, take baskets and things, go out there to see a girl. And the Christian Endeavor girl, we go out early.
These were organizations on Piney Woods campus.
That's right. Now this club was on Piney Woods campus. And Miss Jones would go out in the community and work with these ladies out there. Then they would come into the school and have the club meeting. And she would give them clothing and food. They sent all this food, all this clothing from up north. They just had a house there we called a bedroom house.
Yeah, I think they called that Aunt Monkey's house or something.
Well, I don't know. We called it the bedroom house.
Oh.
And they give these people clothing out of that house, And then she would have these women out, And she never did act like she was ashamed of anything. Don't care who was on that campus. If these women come up, Miss Jones always had time for them. She was a very lovely person. And she would send the boys out and take food out, clothing and so forth. And we, as I said, we would go out there every Christmas and take food. We fix baskets, and we would buy some of the food ourselves. Food the wife didn't see, because she wanted us to have some responsibility. And we would buy some of it, and she would give us some out of it from the barrel, and then some of the food that she had. Because they would send a lot of food from up north, like pecans and peanuts, potatoes, and all that kind of stuff. They just send it down with the barrels and sacks full. And we would take that out. She would write with that all the time.
Well, that's interesting to know about her. I think everyone that I've talked to really, spoken very highly of her.
She was a fine person.
And,
I really thought more of Miss Jones than I did the president. Of course, that's naturally. She was a lady, you see.
Right.
She was a fine person.
Do you know if at that period Dr. Jones was very active with black community groups?
Yes, he was very active.
Did he work with the Y? You know.
He worked with he would go to the YWCA with the boys. He worked
The
with
YMCA.
YMCA with the boys. And Miss Jones would come to the YWCA with the girls.
Now these were organizations you said on
We
campus.
had on the campus. We had that, and we had Christian Endeavor. We had that in the evening, and we had Sunday school, and we had prayer service. Those were the organizations we had in the house. We had YWCA, YMCA, Christian Endeavor, Sunday school, and what is this? A prayer service. We had this meeting at night where we had prayer. It was kind of a teaching organization, and she would meet with all the girls, and in that we had prayer service.
Do you know if there was a conscious effort at Piney Woods to train you to be a home demonstration agent, or did you go out while you were there to the community to show people how to live? This was probably done through the club.
That's right. We didn't go out in the community to do any work. The work that we got it, in the school. And I really didn't do any home demonstration work until after I had finished school. And then I started doing home demonstration work with the agent. She started in the same year I married in 1931, 30 here in the county. But you see, with the work that I got there, I knew a whole lot.
Right.
Because they taught us most everything. They really taught you to work. That's right. They would send you to the field and everything, but I never go to the field. I didn't go but one time.
They were sending young ladies
out
to
to the field. Yeah, they
field
did send
in
young
those
ladies
days,
to work. And this lady asked me to go, and I didn't want to go. So I went on that time, but I didn't go anymore. Because really, those were work students. You see, my father was paying my board, but I didn't mind working. I worked real, real hard. But I just didn't see the point in going out in the field to work.
And working. Piney Woods with his work philosophy.
But we would go out and get vegetables. I would go with the girls to get vegetables. Now, I didn't have to go with the girls to get vegetables. But if I was out of the sewing room, the art room, we called it industrial room then. If I was out of there and the girls were going, I'd ask to make sure that we go with. She would always have an older girl to go, and I would go out with them and pick vegetables and things like that.
Well, did any other members of your family go to Piney Woods?
I had one brother to go. He finished.
Finished. Now, so how many members in your family?
They were 9 of us.
9.
But they only had 3 boys and just 1 girl now. And we have 2 adopted children.
Now, were there any other choices or opportunities for you to have gone to school had you not gone to Piney Woods?
Well, I think I could have gone to school. I could have gone to Princeton School. And I could have gone to Utica. I could have gone to Princeton School, and I could have gone to Utica.
Now, why was Piney Woods your choice?
Well, I wanted to go. I had heard Dr. Jones talk a lot. He used to come down in the community. Come down here where I'm living now, in Mount Carmel, and talk. See, this used to be a thick LaSalle place. It was just a colored community. This place had once belonged to white. They had a little town here. Well, when the railroad came through Prentice, they sold out, and the town moved to Prentice, and then the colored people bought it up. And all this land around here for several miles was all owned by color. But there were 1 or 2 whites now got in the community. So I heard Professor John talk, and I wanted to go. Since I was going to, my father wasn't able to send me to a larger school.
Would you have been able to go to a larger black school in the state? I suppose there was Alcorn, probably some others.
Yeah, I don't know whether I could have gone or no.
No.
But I imagine I could have, because back then the board at Alcorn wasn't much higher than it was in Piney Woods, I don't imagine.
But it was farther away.
It was farther away from home, and so I just wanted to find it.
But there were no public high schools in this area.
No, all of the schools were paid. Paid school. Princeton School was a paid school. We didn't have any public schools at all.
So
and it seemed like to me they offered a little more at Piney Wood, and they did it. Prentice seemed to me, I wouldn't say it, Brother Dean, Mr. Johnson, but it seemed like they just offered a little more, and they were real strict with you.
At Piney Woods.
They really took care of you there. Those that wanted to be And I was one of those that wanted to do the things that was right. And I liked that. I really did. Some things I didn't like. I didn't like the food, but I didn't starve.
I think that this bit about complaining about food is sort of an institutional problem. You know, people. I expect students to complain about food.
But I didn't complain much because I was in the dining room and I could get as much as I wanted, you see. And I liked that. And I just went on. We had a lot of good opportunities, a lot of things to offer too.
Where you at?
I mean, we could learn a lot of things in Piney Woods.
Right. How would you say Piney Woods was virtually different from other institutions?
Let me see now. I haven't had too much dealing with too many institutions, but I do know that they really taught you to work at Piney Woods, and they were strict. They really tried to take care of the children at Piney Woods. You just wasn't loose. You weren't on your own. They really supervised you and took care of you. And Mrs. Jones and most of the teachers seemed more like mothers to you and the older students. And it was a friendly situation.
Right. What would you say would be some of the important traditions that you liked at Piney Woods that are still being carried on?
Let me see now. You mean like some of the things that you could get there?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Or things that you could do,
or
maybe sing in the spiritual.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I really did like the music department, but I didn't take music, and I wasn't too much just for singing. I wanted to take music, but I don't know. I just figured my father wasn't able to give me the music.
You would have had to pay an extra fee to take.
Yeah, I would have had to pay an extra fee, but I could have worked and had music. I like that. I like the music department very much, and I like the business department, but I wasn't in business. I like that very much, and I like the work. I mean, the things that they taught you there to do. Every student that would go to Piney Woods, you had to learn something.
Right.
That's right. You couldn't just loll around.
Yes. Now, when you graduated, what was the commencement like?
Well, everybody in the class, the commencement was set up with something of everything on the campus. You know, some of the boys had brick mason, some of the girls had food, some of the children was in clothing, some was in singing, and all that was carried on during the commencement, that commencement day. But everybody had to speak, all the graduates, Well, all of us didn't, but most of us did. And all that was going on at one time. Cooking was going on, clothing was going on, food was going on, and everything was going on at one time. And the stage was set up like that. But, they had somebody to speak, just like they do now. A commencement speaker, you see.
Well, would you say that was very different from what other high schools?
It was. I didn't never knew another high school to do that. It was very different. All these 24 that finished in my class, that was the largest class that had ever finished. There were 24 of us. Well, all those were doing something at one time on the stage for a period. Everybody was doing something at one time. That's right.
Well, Mrs. Polk, are there any other types of things that you recall about Piney Woods that you'd like to recall for us on tape this time?
And another thing I liked about Piney Woods, they would go out in what we call the slum areas and get children and bring them in and keep them there. They were children that had been there since they were 2 or 3 years old.
That's right.
They would go out and get these children. And some of the smartest children were among those children that they would go out and get in these slum areas that just didn't have anybody to look after. Well, the older children, would look after those smaller children. And then Ms. Jones would come in the dormitory every week and
Mrs. Polk, could you tell us about your present association with Piney Woods, or what your association with Piney Woods has been since you left? Maybe I should say that this is a continuation of the other side of the tape.
Well, after I finished school there, for the first few years I went back quite a bit. I visited campus quite a bit. I go back to commencement and then visit some of the things that went there. But later on, I didn't visit them so much. But we would go back occasionally. Sometime my husband himself would go up there some Sunday evening, we'd eat dinner with him, you know, and so forth. And then, after I started doing home demonstration work, I took some of the outstanding 4-H's up. We went up about twice, girls and boys. I drove them up. And we would have a picnic down by the lake. Then we would visit all the buildings and meet the teachers, you know, on the campus. And we went back to several affairs, you know, on the campus. My husband and myself. And sometimes I would take the children with me. And after then, I have been back. And when we, as I said, when we were going to camp, we would go back most every year and stop by and spend about 2 hours with the children. Because really, I was trying to get some of the children notion to go to Piney Woods. And I would take them by. And Professor Jones was real nice to the children. They said he was the nicest man that they had ever met. Because they had been, okay, where we would go, had anybody else carry us in and give us dinner and give them Coke or milk or whatever they wanted, you know. Then put them in the school bus and send them all over the campus.
Right.
And they loved him, and they said he was one of the nicest person that they had ever met.
Yeah, I
And
suppose
he-
you were responsible for a number of people going there.
That's right, and he said that he told the children, said, I'm not doing this for you all, I'm doing it for Ms. Polk because she went to school here.
Uh-huh.
And since then, well, they have asked me for some things. I know once they asked me to send them $10 to fix some pipes on the campus. I sent them 25. So they wrote me a nice letter and thanked me, and he even sent me a little Bible verse. And each time they would ask me for something, I would always send it to him. And his birthday, I don't remember. Sometimes I send him a card, $5, you know, for his birthday.
Well, that's good to know that there are some loyal supporters of Piney
But
Woods.
I really want to do more, but we were just poor people. We just worked, you know, just worked our way. My husband, he finished high school at Tuskegee.
Oh, I see.
And we started going to school then after we married. Well, we started before we married, going to summer school at Alferdteen. And that's where he finished. I still like it just a little finishing.
Oh, I see.
But he went on to finish the year before our daughter finished. And see, the 4 of us was in school all at the same time. I just had 2 children, boy and girl, boy. And we were there, you know. So I just couldn't do all the things I wanted to do, but I did try to be loyal. Whatever they asked me for, I tried to do it.
That's good. Now, could you give us any of your opinions about the reputation of Piney Woods, whether it's better now than it used to be, or what do you feel about that?
I haven't
I guess
visited
that-
enough,
Yeah.
but
you know,
I
what do
just
people
feel,
say? What do you hear people saying
I
about
believe
Piney
it's
Woods?
better now.
The reputation is better now than it used to be.
I really believe it.
Have there been any periods of time where they've had a bad reputation
No,
for any reason?
I don't know any time.
You just think the school is probably better known.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, Mrs. Polk, if you don't have any other things, I would like, do you have any other points you'd like to make about Piney Woods? Anything you'd like to say?
No, I think it's better now, and you know, it has really grown. It's a beautiful place, and I really think it's better. And I think they're still keeping up the morale and everything like they always did. But I imagine it's just a little different, you know, when we were there, because they were really strict when we were there.
Yes.
But I think it's, you know, real good. I think it's grown quite a bit. And I hear quite a bit about it, you know, on TV and so forth and so on. It's grown.
Well, Mrs. Deborah Gray Polk, I think that you have been a good person to have interviewed about Piney Woods School, and I think that really goes to speak for some of the successes that Dr. Jones has had. And I heard him speak recently, and he said he was very happy and pleased with his accomplishment, and there aren't many people who can say that.
No.
So I want to thank you for participating in our oral history project in Jackson State.
Well, I was happy to do so, but little I didn't know. I was happy and I'm proud you came into my home and visited with me.